Oh. Excuse me. Oh. Welcome to the Third Eye Podcast. We're not going to do that very long this time, don't worry. I'm in my full get-up today. Wearing whatever the fuck I want, excuse me. I've been reading the Tibetan Book of the Dead over and over as of a couple days ago. More like listening. I do audiobook listening every now and then. And primarily, actually, I'd read sometimes if I have a paper copy or something. But primarily listening to the Tibetan Book of the Dead and being confronted with many different grand concepts that are troubling. Probably one that bothers me the most is this idea of samsara, that we are in samsara, this endless dreamscape that has no beginning and no end. And in this dreamscape sort of samsara, we are all constantly stuck in a cycle of suffering. And it's kind of interesting, actually, because in the middle of tripping, thinking about things like that, thinking about samsara, thinking about, what if what if Buddhism is right? What if Christianity's right? All these different religions are vying for almost, I wouldn't say Buddhism is necessarily vying for it, but many different religions are vying for sort of this domination arc. Like, their religion must be, and if it's not, well, if their religion is not, you're the enemy. Because typically, let's say I'm a devout Christian and I'm one of those uglier ones that, might corner you on the street and be like, "You sinner!" I don't know. It's kind of hard to articulate this one this time. I just know that samsara is creepy. The idea of being stuck in samsara is terrifying. Let's pull that up real quick, just so I can kind of articulate this a little better. What is samsara? Samsara refers to the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth, a fundamental concept in several Eastern religions, including Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, and Bon. Bon. B-O-N. Okay. It is the process of wandering on or flowing on a cycle driven by karma and characterized by suffering due to ignorance and attachment to a sense of self. So let's talk about that for a second. I said before that I've grown attached to this body, and if I could extend its lifetime or even pick a new avatar body, then I would pick one like this. That might be a bad idea. Might be a good idea it might not be a good idea to try and extend what I consider to be called life in general. Because what we think of as consciousness is this thing that we're beginning to understand seems to pervade everything. It's woven into everything. You can't escape consciousness in a sense. Even the inanimate objects around you are conscious to a certain level, or even, I say certain level, they're conscious to a definitive level that you cannot deny it. And due to ignorance and attachment to a sense of self. Apparently, according to Hinduism or Buddhism, nirvana is a place, kind of so let's say heaven is a place, right? We go there when we die, if you believe in Christianity, and you're reunited with your loved ones, and you live. I've heard and had a described to me that all the food you could ever want is in heaven. All the things you could ever want are in heaven. All the things you'd ever want to do, the people that you miss, all of those things are in heaven. And it's a place almost. It's kind of felt like they were describing it like, once we're done here in this place where we're limited and where we don't have full control of everything, we go to a place where we're fully in control of everything, and we can live out our wildest dreams. Hinduism makes Christianity, in my previously attained perspective, look foolish. It makes it look like a bad idea. Because if you have this idea of heading to a place after you die where you are free of your constraints, free to do whatever you want, free to live and create and maybe even manipulate as you freely choose, Hinduism makes that seem like it is a identity of self type situation. Like, because if I were to transcend this form, and in my mind I thought creating a greater godlike form was maybe a good idea or the idea, and reading the Tibetan Book of the Dead has kind of essentially given me the feeling like that's not a good idea. Because it describes your transcendence and liberation as something that is multi-leveled, and that transcending what it is to be a human, to enter a consciousness state that is higher than here, where we are in this human realm, where it seems like it's a third dimension. To transcend into a higher one, we have to let go of things that we believe identify ourselves as a self. So the fact that I like this clothing, or I like silk sheets maybe, or that I like mango, or that I like anything at all. The fact that I like anything at all is something that is getting in the way of my liberation, my enlightenment, which is a little sad in some ways. If you think about it, if we're going to part of this heading to nirvana is a place of perfect enlightenment, perfect happiness, where samsara is a place where suffering is consistently, it comes back around over and over. It is a cycle we can't escape here in samsara, suffering. And in nirvana, that place of perfect enlightenment, it's all peace. Does that mean in a place of nirvana, all peace, all happiness, all joy, it is constantly, all the time, the good things that we've described, like in Christianity? Like, it's the place where you can eat to your stomach's desire, love to your heart's desire, intellectually do whatever you want with your mind, to your mind's desire and your brain's. Is that where we end up? If we transcend all the way to nirvana, if we let go of all of our attachments, do we end up in a place where we have access, infinite access to joy and happiness? Or is it that the want to these things is, in fact, the barrier that keeps us from infinite happiness? Essentially saying that this idea of nirvana is one where you are no self, you want nothing, and you want to do nothing. That doesn't sound exactly attractive to me. Being a human is interesting and fun. And part of me is like, what's wrong with that? But then again, they describe many different wombs that you can be delivered unto if you don't awaken in your awareness soon enough in the bardo after you've died. As time goes on in the bardo, there's supposed to be maybe like 30 to 40 days in the bardo. Your revealed versions of yourself, many deities are revealed to you, and it's all, the book says, recognize it as yourself. It is all you. Recognizing it as if it is not you is how you are reborn once again, and you are being reborn is not necessarily not a good thing, but not a bad thing either. It's just a perpetual suffering. Being born is suffering. We understand that this life is to some degree suffering. We can't escape it. We can be happy for lots of it. We can be happy for some of it, but we're not happy for all of it. And that is this thing that we're trying to transcend in Buddhism, apparently. We're trying to transcend unhappiness, attachment, self, all of these things, because they're in the way of pure enlightenment. Pure enlightenment is this area, this place in your, not even in your mind, it's beyond all of that, where you're not. You're not. You are simply not, and you simply are. I suppose, in my weakened way of describing it. But during a trip, thinking about these kinds of things, it's scary, because I could almost like feel that choice to like pull out, maybe? It's like pull out of this whole realm, pull out of all of it. Doing a full breakthrough dose trip, I was thinking that I could pull out fully. I could kind of feel it, almost like unplugging a socket. I could pull out of this simulation. And it scared me a little bit, because I thought about all the people and things that I care about in the simulation. Attachment. I started thinking about the things that I've done here and the things I'd be leaving behind if I didn't come back to do anything with it to try and take care of it. It is a suffering feeling to feel like I have to leave things behind, because like if I were to transcend to nirvana right now, I would leave behind my wife, my perfect, beautiful, lovely wife. She's not perfect. We're not perfect. I'm not perfect, but you get the point. I would leave behind all these things that I feel deeply interconnected and intertwined with. But I feel like the explanation doesn't stop at Buddhism. I feel like it might not be the complete explanation, the full picture, and it's scary to think that it is. I don't want to believe that any one thing can be the one explanation. It's hard to, if humans are fallible, if we can't possibly conceive the fullest image of God, then how is it we could possibly assume that any one person that has even, done what monks do and only done breathing exercises deep in a cave for years and years and years, and that's their entire life, they come to you with quote unquote the answer. How is it? I don't think we can possibly understand the full conception of the answer, and any one religion can deliver the ultimate indisputable divine solution. As a result, none of these religions are fully applicable, and all of them might be somewhat applicable. And because of that, it goes back to that saying of take what resonates and leave what doesn't. I think all religions should be studied, and all different manners of exploring into the realm beyond this physical one should be explored, because we have a very limited picture of where we're going and what we're doing here. If Buddhism is correct, and we're stuck here in samsara because of our self and our attachments and our karma, then we will be continuously propelled through this experience of reincarnation, rebirth, over and over and over again by our karma. And to some degree, we can't stop it. To some degree, we can through our awakenedness, our awareness, our attention. We can, if we distill our attention down to pure godliness, and when we die, use that attention to be fully aware. Everything we interact with, everything we see, everything is ourselves and us. That gives us kind of like doorways to transcend in Hinduism. Let's go to something else real quick in Hinduism. We're not jumping topics here just yet. Buddhism. What was it? The deities. There are many, many deities in Buddhism. Buddhism has no single pantheon of deities in the Western sense. Rather, it has a complex array of Buddhas, or Buddhas, bodhisattvas, enlightened beings who vow to help others, and Dharmapalas, protectors of the Dharma, as well as various heavenly beings, devas, and mythological creatures. Key figures include the original Buddha, Siddhartha, Gautama, and enlightened beings like Avalokiteshvara, compassion, Manjushri, wisdom, and Maitreya, the future Buddha. Many deities. I would want to say, you could almost go, as possible. If we're believing in an infinite universe, it's possible it's countless. Why would there be a number of them? Why would there be any limited number of them if we're in an infinite universe where things are constantly, infinitely expanding? Why would there be any set number of them? And also, if we're in an infinite universe where we're constantly expanding and creating new things, why wouldn't there be new religions? Why is there got to be one religion that is the answer? Is it possible that we're wrong on that? Is it possible that every conceptualization of a religion might have some truth to it, might have some deity in it, might have some living thing a part of it? I could just be getting myself stuck in samsara for another couple thousand reincarnations by saying all this. But that's the thing too. I'm not saying I necessarily believe it, but it does put fear in me. It does have me concerned because it has me concerned because just like Christianity in some sense, I don't want to, even when I was younger and had all of Christianity forced upon me, go to church, read the Bible, blah, 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 Sunday school, I fucking hated all of it. That's beside the point. It could have been possible that coming into this reincarnation in this life, I was somewhat aware of what was going on, seeing all of the deities represent themselves to me, trying to imbue me with their divine wisdom, their righteousness. There are the 8 paths. And they make a lot of sense if you think about the 8 paths and the 8-spoked wheel in Buddhism. The 8-fold path of Buddhism consists of right understanding, right thought, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration, also known as the Noble Eightfold Path. Right understanding the true nature of reality, including the Four Noble Truths. Right thought, cultivating thoughts of non-ill will, compassion, and harmlessness. Ethics. Oh, that's all. Oh, interesting. So, the path is often divided into 3 categories: wisdom, ethics, and meditation. Wisdom, prana; ethics, sila; meditation, samadhi. So wisdom, prana, right understanding and right thought, understanding the true nature of reality, and cultivating thoughts of non-ill will, compassion, and harmlessness. Ethics, sila, right speech, right action, right livelihood, speaking truthfully, avoiding harsh or idle talk, engaging in ethical conduct, refraining from harmful actions like killing, stealing, sexual misconduct. Right livelihood, earning a living in a way that does not cause suffering to others. Meditation, samadhi, right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration, cultivating positive mental qualities and letting go of negative ones, maintaining a whole body and mind connection awareness of the present moment, developing focused meditation to achieve deep meditative absorption or a state of union with the object of meditation. So, it's kind of fractal in a way. You take something that has 8 categories, the Noble Eightfold Path, and they have these little fractal meanings in them that if you look at them separately, and or should I say not separately, if you look at them interconnectedly and you apply them to yourself, I am following the Noble Eightfold Path, or at least I'm trying to. And before I looked it up the first time, I didn't realize that I was, but right understanding, right thought, right speech, right action, right livelihood. All of these things are things I'm trying to do, and they occur to me naturally after doing things like DMT, mushrooms, more like DMT, doing mushrooms and LSD, acid, I haven't done mescaline, but I have done ecstasy, or is ecstasy mescaline? Let's figure that out real quick. Is ecstasy Is ecstasy mescaline? No, ecstasy MDMA is not the same as mescaline. MDMA is a substituted amphetamine, while mescaline is a psychedelic. So I took an amphetamine? Ecstasy is an amphetamine? I took an amphetamine? Well, it did feel pretty good. But all I could really describe that like was I had at the time that I took it, I had this big ol' bass speaker thing. I could plug my bass guitar into it, and I had all these knobs on it. I could turn them all up, and I could play the bass really loud. And it was like all those different knobs. I found the knob for like pure emotion, and I turned it all the way up, and I took the knob off for a couple hours. That's what ecstasy was like for me. And it was definitely interesting. People that I never wanted to hug before, I was definitely willing to embrace in a hug. But they weren't. That's besides the point. Got a little off track. All this religious stuff, it's a little scary. But, it should, I suppose, it should produce a certain amount of rightful trembling before the Lord, as they say. Fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, I think. Something like that is a saying I've heard. But doing DMT gives me that feeling of I need to do better, and it fractalizes into things that affect me in the same way as if I were to follow the Noble Eightfold Path to the best of my abilities if I were a Buddhist, which I'm not. I don't particularly like to say that I'm any one or other religion, because I think it might be a bad idea to label yourself as such and follow such a path, because it could be possible if infinity is infinity the way that we understand it, which our understanding is likely incomplete. It could be possible there's an infinite number of ways for heaven to exist for us. Christianity, that heaven probably exists, and it could be nirvana. And this idea of nirvana in Buddhism, which is this place where there is no attachment, there is no self, there is no identity. You just simply are, and you are simply happy. That doesn't make sense to me. I can't, my mind cannot, it is failing to articulate what perfect happiness is like, because to me, perfect happiness right now is when the joints just rolled, or when I just feed my cat and he's done some cute tricks, or I just end my day at Amazon and I've dealt with all of that suffering. What it seems like to me is happiness is something that's bestowed upon me after I have suffered, voluntarily especially. But, so, in a world with balance where there can be no happiness without the suffering, what exactly is nirvana? Are we saying it can't exist without that opposite of hell? Because in Buddhism, it says, or at least in the Tibetan Book of the Dead, if when you die and you're confronted by all of these deities in the chronological order that they seem to have, you are kind of each day at a time in the bardo, you are presented I'm going to look it up real quick. Bam! So in the Book of the Dead, you're confronted throughout the bardo with different deities and different lights, and they all have different meanings, and they have there's a good meaning and a bad meaning. I should say that a little different. There's a good light and a bad light. The book does not contain a formal system of colored lights as seen in the Tibetan Book of the Dead. Instead, light is depicted through imagery and specific spells associated with the sun, the Eye of Ra, and the Final Judgment. Okay. The light of Ra, meaning rebirth and resurrection. The afterlife journey is modeled on the sun god Ra's nightly travels through the Daut, the underworld, where he battles the forces of chaos to be reborn with the dawn. The deceased travels with Ra in his solar bark, and their rebirth is synonymous with the sun's rising. Sounds very beautiful. this is not exactly what I read. Either way, so you're confronted by these deities, and each day, let's say there's one deity, and he, from his heart, comes the light of ultimate wisdom, and then also, let's say, the light of, shoot, I'm just going to butcher this one so hard, without it having here. Let's see if that helps. Yeah, you're confronted by these lights, and each time you're confronted by a light, you're confronted by a good one and a bad one, and there are different colors and or shades. And so each opportunity that you're confronted by a deity, and this light emerges from its heart with its consort present, you will be adverse to the good light and be attracted to the bad light, so to speak. And it is said each time that if you are attracted to the good light, you will be reborn as this Buddha in this realm. And if you're attracted to the bad light, you'll be reborn. Well, if you're attracted to this particular bad light, you'll be born as a beast. Or if you're attracted to this particular bad light, you'll be born as a human. Or this particular bad light, you'll be born as a demon, or a hell demon, or a hungry ghost, and the list goes on a little bit. But the point is, all these different ways that you can, if you're not paying attention in this state of spiritual enlightenment, if you're not paying attention in the realm that is what we call death, you will be recycled in a sense. And based off your karma in a sort of way. Your tendencies, all of these things propel you through the realm of reincarnation, and your soul can go either up or down. And that's what I suppose scares me a little bit, is you can just kind of accidentally go down, I guess it seems like. And I suppose, this is some people in the comments of that video, that audiobook that I read, they're pretty upset because they're like, you can't just give the Book of the Dead to the Westerners. They'll interpret it however they want, and you should have a guru present. That's where I get a little fucked up. I don't think you need to have a guru present. Why do you need to have a guru present? What's this guru done? What has this guru done? And I can't verify it. I don't think you can either. Now, they might have some kind of wisdom and clarity to their speech, but I don't think, at least in my case, and I could be wrong later on down the line, I don't think in my case I need to be finding any kind of mentor or guru. I am the mentor. I am the guru. Not to anyone else, but to myself. I am the mentor and the guru to myself, and I need to deliver myself from the negativities that surround me, not anyone else. And I think that could be a problem. Obviously people are going to say, no, I've had so much positive things come because I've got a guru. That's good. It's great. Be led. I lead people if I can. It's a big old mess out here, guys, trying to be a human. That's why the human realm is full of suffering, I guess. What's heaven supposed to be? Can we even do anything there? Do I just get to transcend this body and be happy? Is that it? Am I just permanently happy? I don't do anything. I don't want anything. And I am nothing. And then I'm happy? That doesn't make any sense. But when I trip and I leave this body, I do feel profound peace in ways. And that does seem important to me. I know that being pulled from this soup, oh man, it is a thick soup. It was like, shoot, imagine trying to okay, so there's the symbiote that I don't know, many of us probably won't know what a symbiote is, but it's like trying to pull a magnet from a magnetic symbiote, pulling myself from the realm of samsara, this realm of suffering, into a realm of enlightenment. It's almost like maybe I could even choose to transcend it by choice right now if I wanted to, but that wouldn't look very pleasant to any of you in this dream world. If I could just and then fall over, and then this body is dead, I've transcended to samsara, beyond samsara, and to nirvana, or at least a realm above that, because apparently there are realms above that, but not nirvana, that So I could transcend being a human and become a god, but not transcend to nirvana. So why is that important too? And I guess if you pull that into, like, if you can become a god being and as a god being affect things, maybe on Earth, maybe in other dimensions or realms or planets, you could get people to worship you. And that's where this whole, I guess, don't worship false idols thing might come in. But worshipping false idols, it's kind of silly, because if you can transcend this body as a human and become a god, then you can maybe even have the people here on Earth worship you. Is that what Jesus did? Maybe that's what I was trying to say in an earlier episode. I think it is possible that you can sort of create a religion, and if you get enough people behind it, like that of an egregore gaining its power through people's attention and belief in it, you're creating something in this world. And that might be a bad idea too. It might be bad, because if nirvana is a thing where you're beyond all of this, then it might be bad to want to become a god, or to create a godlike thing, or to worship a godlike thing, because it's just not the answer. But does that mean you should worship nirvana? Does that mean you should worship anything? Because if you shouldn't want, what's worshiping? What is worshiping? What is that? Let's look at that. Let's look up the meaning of worship real quick. The feeling or expression of reverence and adoration for a deity. We might be wrong, guys. We might all be wrong. Jesus might be a bad idea. That's the only name that's coming to mind right now. I really did blank hard. Jesus is a good person, probably. Was. You know? Was he real? I don't know. I like to think that he was. But the feeling, expression, reverence, adoration for a deity. What if we're not supposed to do that? What if we're just not supposed to worship, but not... What if we're not supposed to worship, but not worship, in the sense that we're just supposed to be here and present? And that's another thing too. Presence with the present moment. Being eternally in the present moment is a good thing, according to a lot of people. Coming out of this last trip, I was thinking about the present moment, and I was thinking about how that feeling, that pull of, like, I could almost transcend all of this in a moment if I wanted to and head straight to nirvana, but what would I leave behind? All of this. Having attachments. Having attachments is confusing. I don't want to think that my wife isn't... It's not that she's not real, but that she doesn't matter. Because another thing they said in the Tibetan Book of the Dead is that you should not want to love or hate. Not want anything. Seriously, guys, you're not allowed to want anything. Maybe it's not that you're not allowed, it's just that you have to transcend wanting. And I know in my previous articulation to myself, if I was to be a god, it only makes sense that those who could become gods were only people, perhaps, that had pure intentions, not good intentions, pure ones, pure. And in the Book of the Dead, it talks about how you can be reborn as a jealous god, a hateful god. So yeah, maybe your pure intention is pure hate, pure good, pure whatever, but it's not pure transcendence. And so you're not going to reach nirvana, but you will be reborn as a god, and as a result, you may have people here on the human realm, on the human world, in Earth, worshipping you. But that, it's so confusing, and it seems limited, and it seems like there's not enough of an answer here, guys. I don't think there's enough of an answer here for it to make sense. Because if we're in an infinite universe with infinite planets, does that mean all these other planets are getting that too? are they getting Buddha download where the Buddha is coming to them, and it looks like all these pictures and all these symbols that I can pull up here for myself, which at some point I'll have to figure out how to pull this up for y'all too. But in the meantime, it's just how is it possible? How is it? Are you saying you transcend these places even in thought? Can I go to a place in the universe, a different planet, light years away, circling a different sun, a couple different suns? The suns are blue instead of orange, yellow, gold, whatever. And on this planet, I can talk to them, and in a language that I can't understand, we can articulate and translate that the Buddha is real. Can we do that? Or are they believing in a different God over there that is real because, now this is where it gets interesting. Their God is real because when they transcend the human realm and transcend certain qualities of those human traits, those attachments, you can become a god, and then those people in those areas would worship those gods. And it's falsely. That is the problem. You don't need to... So is it a trick? Is it a trick that transcending a human makes me a god, and then as a god, people will worship me, falsely realizing that that's not what they should do? Because I suppose, especially rereading the book, re-listening to the book a few times, you can excel through the bardo. You can accelerate through the bardo, and at any point in time, you can become aware, and your awareness will be as a result, as a consequence, it will lead you to your next birth, and in which place is kind of up to your karma to some degree. But it also said at any point in time, you can become aware and transcend and become a Buddha, and you don't have to be freaked out for 30 days in the bardo, seeing all these deities and entities and thinking that it's not you. Like, the description of these deities is pretty scary too sometimes. The first ones are all peaceful. The first gods that you meet supposedly in the bardo are peaceful ones. And they're all sending you transmissions of wisdom, love, righteousness, all these things. And it is your, turning away and seeking the comfort of the human realm, or the hell realm, or the hungry ghost realm. You'll feel attraction to all of these realms that aren't the godly realm. And it is your choice to turn away from any of them that allows you to transcend and become a Buddha. Wrathful Buddhist deities are fierce figures, not evil, who manifest terrifying appearances: flaming hair, multiple arms, sharp fangs, skull crowns, garlands of severed heads, to overcome spiritual obstacles and negative forces like anger, aversion, or ignorance. So, part of what it says here is that these beings are not evil, so to speak. It constantly refers to this as all being sort of like reflections of you. So the wrathful, evil, fang-bearing deities with body parts strewn about them like jewelry, it is kind of like a transcendent acknowledgement of these spiritual meanings, such as anger, aversion, ignorance. Enlightened beings in a wrathful form to protect the path and purify negative emotions. Indigenous gods bound by oath to protect Buddhist teachings. Key examples include Yamatonka, foe of death, and wrathful forms of Tara and Vajrapani. Often depicted with flaming hair, multiple arms, faces, bulging eyes, gaping mouths, revealing fangs, may wear garlands of severed head, bone ornaments, skirts made of tiger or leopard skin, weapons like the Vajra, a thunderbolt, curved knives, skull cups full of blood. Listening to the Book of the Dead, so many times is it mentioned that there are multiple deities that hold these skulls full of blood up to the mouth of themselves, because it's like their consort is the female Buddha, and it's a male and a female, but the female is wrapped around the male, holding a skull of blood up to his mouth, and these deities, it's like in the bardo, if you accept that these deities are not you, and you think that if you think that they're not you, you'll confuse them with like the gods of death. You'll confuse them with gods of death, and they will tear out your bones, peel your skin off, rip out your eyes, lick your brain, and gnaw on your parts, and it's just going to be horrible because you'll have confused yourself with that of not them. Somehow, accepting that this is a version of you allows you to transcend them. Actually, I don't think you do transcend. I think they do still tear you apart. It's just that your recognition that it is not them that is separate from you. Your recognition that they are you performing perhaps maybe even like a service of some sort that you can't understand. It is a form of you doing a thing that must be done. And if you can recognize that, perhaps maybe it causes you some sort of lessened pain, because some pretty descriptory, horribly described things will happen to you in this bardo realm, such as you'll come upon a moment where all of your good and bad deeds are judged and tallied, and upon arrival of that moment, you will lie, of course, and say, "I have done nothing wrong." And that's where this being will slice you to shreds, and pick out stones, white and black stones, and tallying them to see how many good deeds, how many bad deeds, intentions, actions have you done. And that will be painful, apparently. But if you can acknowledge and recognize that this is just a part of you and a part of the process and all a part of something that's good for you and transcend it, and it's all love and compassion, I'm not saying it won't still happen according to the Book of the Dead, but perhaps you can still get through it and realize, got a shit ton of bad pebbles, but I can still become a god. I don't know. That's apparently to them not the answer. You don't want to become a god. You want to transcend all of that. You don't want to do anything. God doesn't do shit, dude. He don't do nothing. And he don't want nothing. And he ain't nothing. Does that make any sense? Why must we be this confused? Why must it be this confusing? I think we need to do a little. I'm listening to music right now, although likely you wouldn't know. This is just how I'm going to do it for now. It's very kind of helps the flow a little bit. Maybe I'm a little chopped up, but it doesn't matter to me anyway. Maybe it matters to you. We'll talk about it. Let's talk about it. If this bothers you, leave a comment. If you like it, subscribe. If you feel any other things that I haven't described, leave a like or a dislike. I don't care. I do care that you watch, though. I said that before, that I don't care if I accrue an audience. I actually do care. I do want people to hear what I'm talking about. I do want people to consider these things. It's not that I'm trying to become important or that I see myself as important, but I do see the conversation important. The conversation that I'm trying to bring to the table is important. And if people agree with me, well, more people are going to come to the table to discuss it. But this is all a result of a friend of mine, actually. I guess I'll call him a friend. I'm not trying to offend him in any way. Release your attachments if this offended you. Release them. You'll never ascend into nirvana if you are offended by what I'm saying. But a friend of mine, acquaintance friend, told me to read Aldous Huxley's Doors of Perception. That led me into reading about the Book of the Dead. All in the same day, I downloaded The Doors of Perception by Aldous Huxley, the Tibetan Book of the Dead, and a third thing, which I can't remember right now. And funny enough, like the universe likes to do, it likes to draw all these things together in a weird way. Everything I do seems to matter for a reason in some symbolic way. And as I listened to the Tibetan Book of the Dead and Aldous Huxley, those two things bled into each other. Listening to The Doors of Perception, Aldous Huxley talks about the Book of the Dead. So it was super interesting to have listened to the Book of the Dead first, and then Doors of Perception, where someone is tripping on mescaline and talking about all sorts of things, including the Book of the Dead. And it really helped prepare me for this topic a little bit, I think. And I know for sure I'll be doing a lot more looking up, because I can't just fly off the handle like that. It's a little too incoherent, I think. And some of y'all out here, if you're actually going to decide to listen to me, are going to want some coherence. And so I'll try my best to deliver that to you. Some coherent rambling. Yeah, that's what you'll get from me. That's for sure. Coherent rambling. I know one thing. I am under no obligation to make any sense to you. I am under no obligation to make any sense to you. I do care that you're here. At the same time, I don't care if you leave. This podcast will exist until I die. And it'll exist solely for me, but it will benefit anyone who chooses to tune in. I'm not saying I'm like a prophet. I'm not saying turn on my podcast, tune into my wavelength, drop out of society. All I'm saying is that we've got to have these conversations. And I don't think we have the full picture. And kind of like I've said before, we can't make the right decisions if we don't have enough knowledge on the thing we're trying to make a decision about. If you haven't read the Tibetan Book of the Dead or listened to it, it's not that long. Well, it's almost 2 hours. It's an hour and 50 minutes. It's basically 2 hours. If you've got 2 hours to kill on a commute or something like that, check it out. Aldous Huxley, even shorter than that. And those are both important. Listen to it on audiobook or on YouTube. It's free. You're wasting your time if you're not. And if you're just going to work, if you're just living life, if you're just not interested in all this shit, well, do your thing. Don't tune in. You know what I mean? I don't mind. But I gotta keep remembering the mic is facing this way. If I come over here to the side, I think you start hearing me a little weird. At some point, I'll probably start playing the music that I listen to too while I talk. I'm just worried about copyright issues. But I know this music that I'm listening to really does help in some way. At least it helps me just talk. Like I've said before, I don't have to make any sort of sense. I can just ramble, and that's good enough for some of y'all. Well, it's a shame that I've drawn a blank. But it's okay. Chanting feels pretty good. I think I've discovered that chanting does something like... It feels like I vibrate at a frequency when I chant, or when I hum, or when I echo. Oh. Something about that feels like I vibrate at a frequency. It's like this body is a canister, and when I vibrate at a certain frequency, things that bother me, bullshit that bothers me, it is able to pass through the container and float outside and away from it when I vibrate at a positive frequency. And what makes a positive frequency? Just turning on an echo and listening to yourself on a mic. If you're in a good mood, could be all you need. Oh. Shit. What if it's not? What if I'm wrong? This is why maybe you shouldn't listen to me. Oh no. Yeah, I'm wrong. Don't listen to me. Likely, I will lead you into lower realms. I will likely make you upset and angry, and then when you die, you're gonna be like, he was fucking wrong, that asshole, and then you'll get reincarnated as like a squirrel or a dog. That's another thing too. That was kind of sad reading or listening to this part, was that a downshift in vibration is turning into a cat or a dog or an animal or a beast. You don't want to do that, which is, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me, because I remember thinking and talking to my fiance, like, we both talked about the idea that it would be, we want to, like, so many times we gotta go to school, I fucking hate life, I hate being a human, I fucking hate it, all the responsibilities, I hate it, and we want to be a cat or a dog. We want to be our cat or our dog, looking at them and like, oh, you have no responsibilities, you lucky creature, you lucky thing. But Buddhism describes them as slaves, ignorant slaves. And if I think about it for even half a second, my brain can draw conclusions. I don't know about the proper conclusions. It can draw conclusions about that shit pretty quickly. Like, yeah, they kind of are slaves. He kind of is wearing a collar. He kind of is a name that I give him. He kind of doesn't fucking care about me, and if I let him out and shut the door and locked it, he might come back for a day or two because that's his normal source of food. But it wouldn't take long for him to stop giving a shit and go into survival mode and become a cat that he was born to be. But, yeah, that's a little concerning because, like, you know, you probably shouldn't want to become a cat. You probably shouldn't want to become a beast or anything like that, because if you think about it, yeah, that little cat over there I nabbed from a nursing home because he was a stray. And so essentially some alien came over and abducted him, and he fought for his life horribly. I actually didn't catch him myself. I had a friend at the nursing home catch him for me. Tore up his hand a little bit, and that's why we named him Zeus, because he's a fucking fierce incarnation of how you behave when you're abducted by an alien. You ferociously fight back. So we named him Zeus because he thought he was being kidnapped by probably demons. And then we put him in a box until he calmed down, and we left him alone, and then we gave him a name, and then that's horrible. Is that really what you want? And if you don't get that, here's the alternative. If you don't become somebody's pet, you're going to live your life wildly and ignorantly. You're going to just, and is that ignorant to be an animal that's just on survival instincts, full survival mode? Is that ignorant? I can understand it, at least, because if you're an animal and you just don't care about anything else other than your survival, that is a certain level of ignorance. And if you can transcend that, like how a dog can care for a human, that's somewhat transcendent. At what point are we transcending animals? That's another thing too. This world, this universe is so infinite. If the Emerald Tablets are anything to be believed, then we were a species of monkeys or hominids or whatever that got experimented on and turned into a worker species. And that's why we're as smart as we are. And then somewhere along the line, in being turned into a worker species, we were also imbued with that of godlike capabilities somehow. And that was a problem that starts wars in trans-dimensional universal realities, apparently. The picture is so big. I've got to let my cat out. I'll be right back. A few seconds of silence won't bother anybody, surely. And a few ounces of fat on the screen ain't gonna bother anybody, surely. And, yeah, I don't know what I was talking about. But I do know one thing. I ain't got the full picture, and listening to me isn't the answer, but it's, part of the solution. Listening to me is not the answer, but you can gain things from listening to me that can aid you in creating your own solution. Whether or not we're going to become gods in the future through technology, through enlightenment, through our own minds, I don't know that answer for sure. And I can't say that any of my advice is a good idea to listen to. But I know we can't not talk about it. We can't keep going the way we're going. Sorry, I knocked the desk and everything shook. We can't keep going the way we're going, where we just assume that, like, all that there is to this realm is like making money and just surviving and trying to be happy. There is gotta be, in my many psychedelic experiences, there has gotta be something beyond this to look forward to / be concerned about. And we certainly can't just not pay attention to it, because if there is some cycle of birth, rebirth, if there is a cycle that we're stuck in, I suppose it's worthwhile to at least try and transcend it. That's a problem, though. It's like if we always get cycled back in, and it's this process of forgetting what's happened to us and not being able to remember our past lives, it makes it so much harder. It's so much harder to be born into this realm where you don't remember a fucking thing. And you're supposed to figure out, especially by other people, especially if you're wise and careful, you're going to come across so many liars. You're going to have to be able to discern. This discernment level that you'll have to have is going to be beyond mastery. It's going to be godlike. It's going to have to be godlike. Godlike discernment that would allow you to figure out what in the universe that is being revealed to you is worthwhile and true, because nirvana is also supposedly a place of ultimate truth. And having had the trips that I've had, I can imagine when reading and listening to this book, when listening to this book, my brain can articulate much better having had trips and gone to these crazy places and seen crazy things. My brain is like, oh, I've got a wealth of knowledge now that I can use to try and explain to you what's going on here when you hear these things, when you listen to these things. And when I think about how there's a realm, quote unquote, nirvana, that is this place of ultimate peace, joy, and truth, ultimate truth, that means nothing untrue can exist in that place. And my brain, having had trips, can articulate. I say my brain having had trips. Having left my body and gone into realms where there is all this visualization, it has articulated to me what ultimate truth might look like. And it's certainly not the full picture, but ultimate truth, there's something that like makes my skin crawl. There's coming back from the most recent trip, feeling that pull like a piece of a magnet inside a magnetic symbiote, pulling a chunk out of a mass, and the mass not wanting the chunk to leave. That's what it felt like. That's what my soul felt like. It was this chunk of something being clung onto by the mass of samsara, the mass of the dreamscape, the mass of self, identity, and attachments, and so on. That mass, all of these millions and billions, this infinite number of minute cell-like organisms clinging on to me and to my spirit, trying to hold me in here. Those things, those minute things being my attachments, my proclivities, my karma, my everything throughout probably infinite lifetimes, it is clinging on to me, trying to keep me from transcending into the realm of nirvana, which is also a realm of this pure light. And supposedly, I think this one's in the Bible, when the light appeared, the darkness did not understand it. And that makes sense to me too, just the fact that it can't understand it. In John 1:5, darkness represents spiritual ignorance, sin, and forces opposing God, while light signifies Jesus Christ, truth, and life. And the darkness did not comprehend the light because its nature is opposed to it. And I mean, that makes sense. If you come across people that are just mean, evil people, when you do something nice, they just, it's weird, they can't comprehend it, they can't understand, they immediately assume that you're trying to get something out of them, that you're trying to get something from them, that it's transactional in nature, what you're doing when you're genuinely nice. And that's a great example of it, when you try to do something nice for somebody and they ultimately think you're just trying to pull one over on them. That's a great example of darkness not being able to understand the light. And in a realm like Nirvana, where there is ultimate truth, there's going to be no darkness. There's going to be no misunderstandings. There's going to be no attachment to things that you don't want to lose. There's not going to be anything like that. So is that a realm of like, is that maybe also possibly just a realm kind of like where we can become gods? Because it's, to me, it makes sense that we wouldn't be allowed to really become a god with this kind of ultimate strength or realization or power. It makes sense that we shouldn't be allowed to have that kind of power if we can even for a second conceptualize how to use it for the forces of evil. It would make sense to me that we're not allowed if we're in that space where we pick up. Jesus fuck. All right. Come on now. There we go. It's getting really bugged by that touch in my back. Well, that's my train of thought. It's okay. Control, Alt, Delete. Nirvana, a place where perfection can exist. It also seems like to me like, because if we all transcend. If I transcend this body, and if you transcend your body, and everybody else transcends their body, then are we all going to merge into one thing? And if we all merge into one thing, what is the point of being separate? What is the point of trying to learn all of these things to become one thing? As that one thing, where are we going from there? Can we go anywhere? Is Nirvana a place where all of our fractionalized personalities and our minds come together into one being and let go of everything that was negative in any sense of the word, and we merge back into one being? That sounds lonely, man. Do we want to be one being that's happy forever? I can't imagine what that looks like. Of course, that's probably the part of the problem with samsara is I can't possibly imagine what it would look like to live in a realm where there is only light, only myself, which is also technically not a self, and persistently, permanently happy. Close your eyes, ladies and gentlemen. Imagine this world of perfect light. Imagine everything you've ever wanted. Now imagine that is what stands in your way. Got a couple buttons over here. Let's see what this does. Getting amped up for the resurrection, y'all. Probably coming close to the end here. Maybe. I know all these religions fighting each other is not the answer. I know having to pick a religion feels like it's not the answer. I can't possibly feel like picking any religion is the answer, because it's like that's another attachment. You know, you're just going to be attached to another thing. Am I going to transcend without y'all? I don't know. I might very likely, just from saying all of this, go to a lower level, because it's like some kind of weird karmic thing that I've done. I'm going to try my best not to become a fucking cat. I remember after listening to the Book of the Dead and coming home, I looked at my cat and I went, "You ignorant fuck. You incarnated into a cat, and you became my slave," which is also me. I looked at myself and I was like, "You ignorant fuck. You became a cat and you became your own slave." It's really weird. That's why I try and be super nice to him, because I'm like, this guy didn't pick this life. He was kidnapped by aliens, and now we're subjecting him to a diet that he doesn't understand, and we got to take him to a hospital because of this diet that we and he does not understand. We live in such a fucked up society. So many things have got to change about our society. We could create a society even. I mean, if you think about it, Buddhism, having these religions can help guide people towards enlightenment, if that's the real goal. But also, we could just, I mean, I feel like we got to kind of work from the bottom up. And people are saying nowadays that consciousness is the bottom level, so I suppose you got to start there too. But at the same time, it really sucks to go to PetSmart on some kind of adoption day or whatever the fuck, an adoption fair, and seeing rows of dogs out like products and cats burying their heads in their beds, trying to drown out all of the barking. It is so horribly sad. There's a place that I go to that like a little dog pound. It's a rescue pound or whatever, and every now and then I'm drawn to go simply because I love dogs, and every time I go I leave very upset. It's like it is no different than an addiction to me. I want to go to see the dogs because they're so cute, and I want to have a dog, and I want to get a dog. I have a want to get a dog, and then I go there and I see all these dogs, and I like, and maybe I'm like some schizophrenic fucking crazy person who's done too many fucking psychedelic drugs, but I can feel their pain. I can feel how badly they don't want to be there, that they're stuck there, that they're trapped, and it sucks because then I read this Tibetan Book of the Dead, and it talks about how if you get reincarnated, if you aim towards the comfortable light of beasts or whatever in that moment in the bardo, you could come back as a dog, a cat, a bird, a horse, and but likely, regardless, you're going to end up in a kennel, in a pen, surrounded by your own filth. And that's another form of hell. It's another form of suffering. God damn it, we've done it again to ourselves. Just when you thought you wanted to be a cat to escape all of your burdens, you become a cat just to become a slave. And then all of your burdens are amplified because not only are you a slave of a being that doesn't understand you and you don't fully understand it, but you're almost like an ornament of that being's life. Like as that being jingles through time, all of the accessories that it wears, one of the things that it wears is another version of you trapped as an ignorant cat. And how does that make you feel about having a cat, y'all? Or a dog? Or an iguana? Or a snake? Or a bird? Think twice before adopting that pet. Maybe you should save them from their ignorant life. Maybe you shouldn't. What if we take a dog and imbue it with our essence, kind of like in the Emerald Tablets, and we create a dog humanoid being that now has the ability to think, and then we've created a being that needs to transcend? What does that mean? Can you create a being that then that sucks? We're a monkey, and we're like a monkey, and then all of a sudden some being comes along and is like, all right, you know what? I want you to be my worker species, and I'm gonna tap my wand on your forehead, and now you're going to work for me. And as a result, now you have to become enlightened because enlightenment has become a part of your process. Or does that somewhere in the mix all have an explanation where it's like all of these beings that can imbue other beings with any amount of anything and create a new creature, it's a part of the process of enlightening all beings and all things. Are we not possibly stuck in I'm blurry as fuck. Are we not all possibly stuck in some kind of like endless simulation where evil does not understand good, and as a result it tries to deny divinity, tries to deny magic, it tries to deny possibilities of impossibilities? We're in a world where anything is possible, I think. We can become gods, and it's just what's dangerous about it is thinking that we should want to, maybe. The fact that we should want to do any of that is a bad idea. Is not the way. It's not the way. Wanting to do anything, wanting to becoming anything, wanting to have anything, wanting to want is definitely the route to suffering. Apparently, purportedly. That's hard to contend with, ladies and gentlemen. I don't have a strong opposition to that. Try your best to be nice today. Whatever day that you listen to this, try your best to transcend things that you want. Maybe if you come across that coffee, that drink, that piece of gum, that piece of candy, that piece of food, and you're like, if you're able to conjure up in your mind that you feel like you don't need it, or that you feel like you're a little overweight, you can choose not to do that. You can choose. You can make a decision that transcends you. I don't know. I just know I'll be back with more bullshit next week. More conceptualizations of what it is we might be doing wrong, how we're doing it wrong, As if I'm right. You know what I mean? As if I'm the one to listen to. Join me next week on Tuesday. Or on any day of the week. Once the episode's uploaded. You can put it anywhere you want in your life. Trust in the universe. I will start a Patreon soon. In the meantime, I want everyone to do their best, to be open-minded, to open their heart to possibilities, and to trust in the divine nature. Oh.